What's going on, YouTube? I'm AJ. This is my gun review, and got a special one for you today. This is a Venom Customs 4.6-inch quad port. So, 4.6-inch overall length barrel. We have 4 ports in it, which I'll show you a little bit closer on the tabletop. Steel frame, steel grip module, and we got a Holosun 507 comp mounted up top. Also, aluminum magwell on this example. So earlier this year, I did a review on another Venom custom, which was a 5-inch island barrel heavy dust cover. In the video, I had mentioned that though the gun was phenomenal, it wasn't necessarily my preferred spec, and that a 4.6-inch quad port would probably be my optimal Venom. Much to my surprise, Don of Venom Custom reached out to me and said, let's put that theory to the test. So Don actually sent me out a Venom 4.6-inch quad port to review. And I must say, this gun's spectacular. Now, before we get too far into that, I wanted to discuss part selection. So I've seen occasionally online people look at it and say, it looks an awfully lot like an Atlas. It has a lot of Atlas parts. Why wouldn't I just buy an Atlas? There's a little bit of a story behind that. You have to understand Venom is a custom maker, so he can use really whatever parts he chooses to use, or whatever parts his customer prefers him use. So the example I reviewed earlier this year had a heavy Sheely frame and a Sheely grip module. This example is largely Atlas parts. And how that came about is overall Atlas is trying to get into the parts supply market, which from a fiscal standpoint makes a lot of sense, as EGW and Wilson have found out and demonstrated for years. Now, Atlas reached out to a few builders in particular that they considered particular standouts in the industry. Rafferty, Hayes, and Don over at Venom. And asked them if they'd be interested in using them as a parts supplier, which, being that Atlas parts are actually very well thought out and designed, all three of the companies decided to take on, at least as an option. Not as a sole usage, but as an available option. So in a gun like this, it's a little bit unique because you cannot otherwise get a steel Atlas grip module. In fact, Rafferty and Venom are the only two running them. This is of note because when it comes to metal grip modules, I do think the Atlas variants with the removable grip panels are the best in the business. So from your build, you're already starting from a leg up. That said, if I reached out to Don and I wanted a quad port with a Sheely grip, it's an option that's still available to me. To me, the biggest perk that custom guns have over production guns or semi-custom guns is the ability to choose my part selection in accordance with what works best for me ergonomically. With something like an Infinity, though the guns are very attractive, and their grip module is not bad, but compared to the Atlas, it's not the best. And no matter how much I ask, they are not going to put an Atlas grip module on their gun. So you're always going to be hindered by those limitations. Now, that said, part selection is very subjective, and as long as you know what works best for you, even if that's a complete Infinity pistol, then that's optimal. So, with that said, let's get a little bit closer look at these small parts over on the tabletop portion. All right, the Venom quad port. Forgive me, it is a little bit dirty. I have been shooting it. So we have a 4.6-inch barrel with 4 ports in it, kind of a unique port design. So we have 2 elongated ports back here, and then 2 rather large popples up front. Also, you'll notice, man, it's dirty, a very nice crown on the pistol. I really like how deep it's inset. There's our ports. Super cool design. Also, I like the serrations on it. They're a little bit more mild here. These ones are a little bit more aggressive, and then super aggressive at the very front. Tri-topped with some additional relief cuts. Very cool looking pistol. Regarding the slide to frame fit, no movement in any direction. Simply perfect. And then the slide action is just butter. Incredible feeling pistol. It's the level of quality you would hope for at the price point that these guns come in at. Also note there's not a Marvel disconnector cut present on these pistols, but the front of the stripper rail has a relief cut similar to what you'd see on something like an Atlas. Regardless, because of the EGW internals as well as the relief cut, there's no disconnector hangup to be found on this pistol. Also regarding the barrel fit, it's really excellent. You can, right at the end, it just suctions close. You can feel the legs contacting the slide stop. Awesome barrel fit in this example. So on top of that, I will note that though the exterior of the pistol looks very nice, the amount of polishing that Don does on the inside of the pistol really blew me away. It's quite spectacular. The attention to the smaller details that most would simply overlook and that you'll never really see. The optic plate on this example is from Atlas. We have backup irons. They do well enough. The Atlas plate design isn't necessarily my favorite. It does sit a little bit high, but unlike another maker's design, it doesn't cause any malfunction issues. And personally, I really don't care if the optic is super low. As long as the optic stays in place and the plate isn't backing out and is generally solid, that's good enough for me. So, no real complaints with the plate system. Down to the frame, we have a full-length dust cover, same width as the slide, made of steel. The guide rod looks to be a Dawson toolless piece. Moving back to the slide stop, and really most of the small parts on this pistol are going to be sourced from Atlas, which, in my opinion, is actually a very good thing. So the slide stop is an Atlas piece, and I really like how they do their slide stops. So notice you don't have a relief cut underneath, but the slide stop does sit proud, so it's actually very easy for me to lock the slide back. It's not an overly wide design, but it has a nice ledge for me to hit to release the slide. Reasonably low profile. I think it looks good, and it works very well. Overall, excellent piece. The thumb safeties are Atlas High Rides, which are another one of my favorites. So, large paddle. Activation is perfect on these. No play. Yeah, the weight is spectacular. I do like how it gets the hand up out of the way, especially with the Atlas grip panels, which push my hand out a little bit further so I don't accidentally bump into it like I do with, say, the wider thumb safeties and something like a Chile grip. Ambi design, lower profile on the support side. Again, easy to manipulate. The ignition is EGW lightweight, which are overall phenomenal pieces. Beaver tail is from Atlas. Notice Don blends his a little bit different than Atlas does theirs. So he likes this hard line right here. It's an aesthetic preference versus blended all the way across like Atlas does it. Just something unique that you get with the Venom product. And then we get down to the grip module. So this is an Atlas aggressive texture steel grip module. To my knowledge, Rafferty and Venom are the only two that are using this. Ergonomically, when it comes to metal grip modules, the Atlas grip module with the side panels is my favorite. The variant without the side panels, like you get for the Staccato and Prodigy conversions, would probably fall down to like number 4. But the side panels are one of those things, when I first saw them, I kind of thought they were a gimmick, and then I used them and immediately saw the light. The grip texture of this aggressive grip is properly aggressive. So especially this section right here, in about a 100-round session, I actually managed to make my hand bleed. So the rest of the time I was running tape over this just to protect myself a little bit. If this was my personal gun, I'd probably dehorn that a little bit. But very aggressive, though phenomenally ergonomic. Magwell is an aluminum large Atlas piece. Maybe not the most handsome piece in the world, but it worked well. Um, nice big opening. Regarding function, no complaints with that. Went with aluminum just to kind of keep the overall weight of the pistol down, to which I think it achieved a very nicely balanced pistol. The mag release is also an Atlas piece. I must say, I really like this bevel right here. Um, just feels nice. It's still drilled and tapped, so if you want to put a button over it, you can. And it is tuned perfectly. Nice weight to it, not overly heavy, no hangups, everything you want a mag release to be. And then we get to the trigger. So this is an Atlas short length trigger. Fit is perfect in the grip module, no movement. As you guys know, the Atlas shoes themselves aren't my favorite. They're a little slippery, but I do appreciate Don slipping in a short one for me when he sent the pistol out. Trigger pull, just over 2 pounds. Short take up, crisp break, very nice break on this pistol. Short, very direct reset. This is very much your proverbial glass rod break, not a roll. I like how direct the reset was. It made for a very fast trigger. Just excellent. Also, I do like the Venom custom logo underneath the ejection port, and he kept this one a little bit simple. We only have one spider on it, which I think works just fine. Overall, very nice pistol from Venom Custom.
But does it shoot? No need to sugarcoat this one. This is, without question, one of the best shooting pistols I've ever used. Period. Even from my first shot in a bench rest while zeroing, I was surprised at how soft the gun felt. Once I opened it up for my drills, it became like an extension of my own hand. Flat, fast, soft, and superb return to zero. I routinely found 20 splits on the plate rack, and it joins a very small group of guns that I've run sub 3 second 5x50 drills with. Fact of the matter is, I just wanted to keep shooting it. Every drill I performed with it was on the cusp of setting new PRs. Again, simply put, one of the absolute best. And because I shot it so much, here's a little bonus footage.
All right, final thoughts on the Venom quad port. Quite simply, this gun is what I thought it was. Seriously, it is so good. I expected an excellent gun, and even with that in mind, it exceeded my expectations. The gun is fast, it is soft, it transitions wonderfully. The fit is perfect, the barrel fit is awesome, the trigger is awesome. I genuinely don't have a single complaint about this gun, and that doesn't happen very often. Much like the McLaren I reviewed earlier this year, I just wanted to keep bringing it to the range. It was a hammer on steel. It was putting up some of the best times I've ever run on basically any drill I would run. Simply incredible pistol. The obvious comparison would be to something like the Ignis ported Atlas Athena. This gun is about 5 ounces heavier because of the steel grip module instead of the aluminum grip module. The grip module is also quite a bit more aggressive. And comparing the ports, the quad ports on the Venom are quite a bit more aggressive than the ports on the Atlas Athena, the Ignis ports. So, which is worth noting for people who maybe shoot primarily indoors. Um, if I was going to do like a concussion scale with a non-ported 5-inch being a 0 and something like the Akai Break or DSC V8 ports being a 10, I would put the Ignis port somewhere around a 4, and I would put the Venom quad port somewhere around a 6.5, maybe even a 7. So it's quite a bit more concussive, but they're very effective. And for somebody who shoots primarily outdoors, I simply loved them. Past that, I really don't know what else to say. This pistol's incredible. It's one of the favorites I've had on the channel. I can't thank Don enough for sending it to me and giving me a go with it, and nothing but the highest recommendations for his products. With that said, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.